Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 14, The Disappearance of Lord Krishna, text number 41. Kachitvam brahmanam balam gam vruddham roginam striyam charanopashrutam sattvam natyakshihi sharanapradaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: You are always the protector of the deserving living beings, such as Brahmanas, children, cows, women, and the deceased. Could you not give them protection when they approached you for shelter? Purport: The Brahmanas, who are always engaged in researching knowledge for the society's welfare work, both materially and spiritually, deserve the protection of the king in all respects. Similarly, the children of the state, the cow, the deceased person, the woman, and the old man, specifically require the protection of the state or a Kshatriya king. If such living beings do not get protection by the Kshatriyas, by the Kshatriya, or the royal order, or by the state, it is certainly shameful for the Kshatriya or the state. If such things had actually happened to Arjuna, Maharaj Yudhishthira was anxious to know about these discrepancies. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. We are continuing the discussion between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Arjuna. Arjuna returned from the city of Dwaraka, went to visit Lord Krishna, but he took very long time for returning back to Hastinapura. So, after Yudhishthira Maharaj happened to see Arjuna after a long time, and Arjuna's face, from the face of Arjuna, it is said that the face is index of the mind. So, by looking at the face, Yudhishthira Maharaj could sense that there is something wrong. So, he started inquiring from Arjuna various ways that is there anything that wrong has happened, because the face was looking very dull. Arjuna's face was looking dull. Just to understand the context, I'll just read the last two questions also. My dear brother Arjuna, please tell me whether your health is all right. You appear to have lost your bodily luster. Is this due to others disrespecting and neglecting you because of your long stay at Dwaraka? This is one of the enquiries. Another one: has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or threatened you? Could you not give charity to one who asked, or could you not keep your promise to someone? This is how Yudhishthira Maharaj started probing into the incident after observing Arjuna's face that there is something wrong. And in this verse, Yudhishthira Maharaj is continuing his inquiry. You are always the protector of the deserving living beings, such as Brahmanas, children, cows, women, and the deceased. Could you not give them protection when they approached you for shelter? In the verse, it is mentioned Brahmanam, Balam, Vruddham, Roginam, Striyam. Brahmanas, children, old people who are deceased, Roginam, Striyam, women. When they approached you, these categories of the people, when they approached you for protection, you could not give them protection. Is it the reason that you are feeling something kind of guilt that you are unable to give protection for them? So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is throwing light on the duties of Kshatriya, how the Kshatriyas are responsible and certain duties are, they are bound to perform certain duties. And one of the duties highlighted here is they have to take care of or protect the Brahmanas who are always engaged in researching knowledge for the society's welfare, work, both materially and spiritually. A king, a Kshatriya in our Vedic scriptures is considered as a representative of the Supreme Lord. Is called Naradeva. Among the human beings, is considered as the God in terms of that he is supposed to represent the will of the Supreme. Whatever the vision that the Supreme Lord Krishna is having, the king is supposed to execute on behalf of the king, on behalf of the Lord. And Lord Krishna is prayed. We pray to Lord Krishna with the wonderful prayers as Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. The Lord Krishna is always wanted, Lord Krishna always wants the Hita, he is a well-wisher. He wants always good to happen to two categories of entities in the society prominently, the Go and Brahmanas, the cows and Brahmanas. Because the Lord Krishna's vision of a peaceful and happy society is that when people live very happily by taking the food products that are derived from the cow, and when certain tissues in the brain are nourished by taking that healthy and nutritious and sattvic food, and taking directions from the Brahmanas who are considered as the heads of the society, then there is no doubt that peace and prosperity prevails in the entire society. Entire society gets some direction, some towards moving towards certain goal, a meaningful goal. So this is the arrangement made by Lord Krishna for the human society. So that's why Lord Krishna always is eager to see that these two entities in the human society are properly taken care of or not. If these two things are taken care, then automatically the other progress follows. Jagat Hitaya. Third one is come Jagat Hitaya. Then entire Hita of the Jagat comes into the picture. Go Brahman Hitaya cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Jagat Hita is based upon the Hita of the cows and the Brahmanas, and Lord Krishna is very concerned, or he always makes plan, and when he was personally present also on this planet 5,000 years back, by his own actions he has exemplified how the cows and Brahmanas have to be taken care of. So a king, a Kshatriya, who is supposed to be a representative of the Supreme Lord and Naradeva, is also supposed to take care of these things at the top priority. That's why the Lord Krishna, whenever he sees some discrepancies in the society, as there is a gross negligence of this duty of taking care of the cows and Brahmanas, a gross negligence is there, which is supposed to culminate in reviving Krishna consciousness in the heart of every living being. Then he descends personally and to establish this dharma again of devotional service. And interestingly, Srila Prabhupada pointed out this in the 4th chapter when Lord Krishna was telling the history of the Bhagavad Gita. In the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivashvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivashvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Abravit. The Blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivashvan, and Vivashvan instructed to the Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Most of you know that this is the history that Lord Krishna was telling, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada highlights one point that it was always delivered to the royal order, this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, who are coming in the Kshatriya families. Particularly, this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is imparted to the Kshatriya kings who are coming in the royal order, because they are meant for the protection of the inhabitants. It is not only protecting materially. A Kshatriya means he is supposed to protect his dependents from danger. That is the meaning of Kshatriya. Kshatriya means he has to protect his dependents, his subjects. If there is any danger is there, he is supposed to protect them. So, a Kshatriya is not only supposed to protect his subjects from material dangers, but also from the ultimate danger of this very material existence, of becoming subjected to the material entanglement to lust. That Srila Prabhupada points out here. This science is especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should understand it in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from the material bondage to lust. So, let us analyze this point. That means the royal order is supposed to ensure that how the entire, all the subjects who are under them should not get habituated to the sense gratification and lording over tendencies. How to see that these two tendencies are checked always in this entire in their kingdom, and how to do that? Srila Prabhupada points out further that it is done through three methods, three ways how these kings are supposed to check this, the forces of the material bondage to lust, or in terms of, or in other way, the sense gratification and lording over tendencies, which are the two enemies of the living entity. The executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens. Impart to this lesson means, this lesson of the science of yoga, the science of one's relationship to the Supreme. Yoga is translated by Srila Prabhupada in the subsequent verses also as the science of one's relationship with the Supreme. Yogo nastaha parantapaha. In the second verse, there is a word yoga comes, and the yoga is translated by Srila Prabhupada as the science of one's relationship with the Supreme, and how that science has to be imparted to by the kings to the subjects in his kingdom by three ways: by education, culture, and devotion, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here. I repeat, the executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart this lesson. That means this lesson of one's relationship with the Supreme, that is Yoga Shastra. This Bhagavad Gita is also called as Yoga Shastra, the science of one's relationship with the Supreme. This has to be imparted to the citizens through three ways: through culture, through education, and through devotion, finally culminating in devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life. So this is the duty, this is the main duty, or this is the core duty of the king. While taking material prosperity, along with that, how to make the entire society move towards achieving the ultimate goal of the human life through culture, education, and devotion. Now let us analyze how these three elements play a role. Education means a systematic education where in schools this knowledge of this science of yoga, the science of one's relationship to the Supreme has to be inculcated. And through culture, what is this culture? Culture means through arts and performances. At least before the televisions media has took over the India, at least in all the villages of India, in the evening times, the people used to gather and they used to absorb themselves in the cultural performances related to the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in various incarnations as Rama or Krishna or Narsimha. They used to come to the temple, nearby the temple, and people used to perform and they used to just get absorbed in that cultural performances. In that way, they develop attachment and their minds are absorbed in the subject matter of the Lord's pastimes. That is the meaning of culture. Cultural performances, cultural events. And a king is supposed to encourage that kind of cultural events for the general mass of people so that their minds are engaged in those kinds of activities. But after the media has took over the thing, now people are same kind of absorption it is happening to the media. Their minds are absorbed in the katha that is going on in the media. And finally, through devotion, it has to culminate. All this education and culture should culminate in devotion to the Supreme Lord. These are the three methods. And through these three methods of devotion, what is finally supposed to be, what is the underlying principle that is there involved in these three methods of education, culture, and devotion is how general populace in the kingdom can develop attachment to Krishna. Maya asakta manah partha. This yoga shastra can be practiced by the process of by one's mind being attached to Krishna. That Krishna explains in the 7th chapter, that how this yoga shastra can be practiced. For the first condition for that is to be, mind should be attached to Krishna. And this is the toughest thing. How to make the mind to detach from the worldly subjects and bring that attachment to the subject matter of Krishna is where everything lies, crux lies in. That Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that 7th chapter, important verse, Maya asakta manah partha yogam yunjan madashrayaha Srila Prabhupada says, explanation to madashrayaha, where Krishna is telling that by taking shelter of me, Srila Prabhupada explains that either you take shelter of me or my representative. So king is supposed to be a representative of Krishna, and as per the directions given by the king, if people can be participating in the cultural activities or educational programs given by the administrator, then definitely they will develop an attachment to the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Asamshayam samagram mam yatha agnasasi takshrunu. Without doubt, they will understand about Krishna, they will achieve the success of life. Now, unfortunately, the current administration, the Kshatriya or administrative class in the society, are completely went away from this principle. Rather, they are engaging or encouraging the entire population how to develop more attachment to the various material subjects or the various material attractions that are there in this world. So this job of Kshatriyas, what Lord Krishna mentioned, it is the job ISKCON is trying to do. Our organization is trying to do the same three ways: through education, through culture, and through devotion, which administrators are supposed to take this responsibility. But since they're fully absorbed, Srila Prabhupada has implemented, okay, let us try or let us do our best in order to impart Krishna consciousness through these three principles of education, culture, and devotion. That's why, interestingly, if you see the 7 purposes of ISKCON, the first purpose, anyone can tell what is the first purpose of ISKCON? What Srila Prabhupada documented in the inaugurating document or registration document of ISKCON in the New York in the year 1966. In that, Srila Prabhupada mentioned 7 purposes. No one? Started searching on the mobile? Okay. Prabhupada says that the first purpose is to systematically educate the members of the society in the techniques of the spiritual knowledge, so that it's not as it is, but the crux I'm telling, so that the one can check the imbalance in the values of life to achieve the unity and peace in the world. So the first purpose of ISKCON is to systematically propagate the techniques of the spiritual knowledge. So education is what here Prabhupada mentioned in the purport. Through ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada wanted that, yes, let us educate the people very systematically in the techniques of the spiritual knowledge, so that the imbalance in the values of life are checked. What is the meaning of imbalance in the values of life? Every person in this society is having some value system in his life. What is the meaning of value system? Means a person gives certain thing in his life a higher importance. What is the next important thing? What is the next important thing? What is the next, and what is the lowest? This is called value system. And every person's this value system differs from a person to another person. One person thinks that if I have a bank account of 1 crore, if I somehow get it, this is the highest thing for me in my life. That is the value he has created for that. Now, by giving exposure to the spiritual knowledge, what is happening? There is an imbalance in the value system is checked. There is not properly balanced in the people's life. This value system is not properly balanced. If a person get exposure to this Yoga Shastra or the science of the Bhagavad Gita, automatically his value system gets adjusted, and he realizes that, oh, all the while I have been giving something of very high importance, but I realized that now that is not so important. The purpose of the human life is much more, a bigger vision is there. This is called readjustment of the value system. So Srila Prabhupada has incorporated this in his vision statement about through education, how systematically by educating it, we can bring in real unity and peace, which a king is supposed to do it. And culture, as all of you know that in ISKCON, during Srila Prabhupada's physical presence itself, Prabhupada encouraged his disciples to perform, to enact the pastimes of Lord, and through stage performances. And in fact, he was so happy that disciples performing the pastime of the Rukmini. What is that pastime? What is that? Rukmini Apaharana. So when disciples, thus Western disciples, they perform this pastime on the stage with various costumes. And Prabhupada absorbed in that, and at the end of that, he praised it so much that, oh, this actually took me to the entire pastime. I think we should do this one very in a wide way so that people, their absorption moves from other subjects to this subject. Prabhupada liked that very much, and he encouraged the disciples, please. In fact, at one place, Srila Prabhupada said that we can conquer this society through cultural revolution. We can impart this Krishna consciousness in the society as a whole through cultural revolution. So Prabhupada gave a lot of importance to how through culture we have to penetrate into the society, or we can take Krishna consciousness into the nook and corners of the society. That is one of the department to explore as an organization for us, is how through cultural activities we can help, or we can engage the people's mind, get attached to the personality of Lord Krishna. And finally, through devotion. And all this education and culture should culminate in to develop the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Now, this system of this arrangement of these three elements in the society is supposed to be taken care by an administrator. In a small way, any establishment, these three elements should be there. Even in our ISKCON as a society, these three elements are there. Education, culture, and devotion. How our senior Vaishnavas have encouraged us to nicely every once in a month, our brahmachari devotees perform cultural event of taking our devotees to by performing the pastimes of our acharyas, the pastimes of the Lord. And through education, there is a systematic education. And through cultural events of performing festivals, and finally culminating in devotion to the Supreme Lord Krishna. So these three elements in a small unit as a society to the large volume as the entire state or entire country must exist for the peaceful execution. So this is the duty of the Kshatriya or in any other administrator. In a small scale also, any administrator should see to it that we see that this how these three elements, even a small department, we see that I came to know that there is a Pujari department here, and in a small, there is a department also that is also a team of devotees who are there. The team of devotees work how to take the devotees to a trip, a pilgrimage trip once in a while. A cultural activities are created among the department. That means these three elements help the members of that particular group to absorb their mind attached to Krishna. This is the goal of a manager or the goal of administrator, to see that all these three elements are incorporated in the group. This is one point. And next element I would like to tell from this purport is in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells that what are the duties of a Kshatriya. Shauryam tejo dhritir dhakshyam yuddhe chap apalayanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma svabhavajam. It's interesting to analyze that these elements of Kshatriya, of Shauryam, heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Interesting to analyze that, as I mentioned, any unit, organizational unit, as Srila Prabhupada many places pointed out, that even in our organization, there are certain class of people who naturally develop the Brahmanical activities, naturally who develop certain Kshatriya qualities, naturally some having inherent qualities of a Vaishya. So as administrators, within our organization, these elements of a Kshatriya can be found or can be actually extrapolated into that. If you see that courage in battle, so what in ISKCON as an administrator, what is the meaning of courage in battle? Courage in battle means the enemy for us is this material energy, and a real administrator or the real a person who is in a leadership role exhibits or won't show his back. He courageously takes the entire team forward to face the material energy, the opposition that is coming from the material energy. He should be ready to face that there are going to be some difficulties from the material world, and particularly who is having the Kshatriya qualities should be ready to face the difficulties coming from the material energy. He'll be having the courage. Will not step back while depending on Krishna. Danam Ishvara Bhavascha. Danam, charity. Srila Prabhupada wanted our temples to not to accumulate the money, rather very liberally. Krishna being the father, very liberally you should distribute whatever the Krishna is supplying you. Please distribute to all the people in the form of distribution of Krishna consciousness. So the mood of the administrators in our organization also is that very liberally we keep giving or distributing whatever it is coming, we don't accumulate. That's why even Madhu Pandit Prabhu recently telling in the Bhagavatam class, people think that ISKCON will be having so much fixed deposit, the kind of in the gorgeous way, the way that things are conducted over here. Oh, this organization must be having a lot of bank balance. That's why they're able to do so gorgeously. So Madhu Pandit Prabhu told him, nothing is there, anything. It comes and goes. So that means the mood that Srila Prabhupada has created in the managers or the administrators in the organization is, whatever Krishna is supplying to you, don't keep it with you. Please distribute it immediately. And Krishna keep giving you. In that way you keep depending on Krishna more and more. There is a dhanam, Ishvara Bhavascha. And then next, determination, courage. Now these things, as I mentioned, within ISKCON as an organization, each department also can exhibit these qualities. As I mentioned, ISKCON as an organization, one example that is given over here is the Pujari department. I gave one example. Similarly, so many departments are there. Every department, one should be having these qualities, those who manages that particular department. Now, Krishna interestingly after telling these three qualities of the people of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, Krishna tells that Svesve karmanya abhirataha samsiddhim labhate naraha swakarma niratah siddhim yatha vindati takshrunu. Krishna is telling, by following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. Krishna is giving a very interesting conclusion he is bringing after explaining that there are 4 divisions are there. Every division has got his duties. Now people may think that, this Bhagavad Gita is now trying to divide the people and trying to separate the people, differentiate the people. The Krishna, naturally, many people asked actually this question, that this division is there. Can we also become perfect if we are not in this position of a Brahmana? Then immediately, yes, Krishna has, knowing the minds of the people, Krishna has very nicely pointed out over here that everyone, whatever the work they are doing, everyone can achieve the perfection in their life. How that is possible? Then Krishna tells in the next verse that Yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. Abhyarcha means worship. Whom he has to worship? Yena sarvamidam tatam, one who is all pervading. The Supreme Lord is all pervading by his energies, Prabhupada explains. So if one being in his own profession, whatever the duties he is doing, if he can worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of his work, then that person can achieve the highest perfection of life. And this is the duty of a king, again, to see to it that in his entire kingdom, everyone while doing their duties, whether are they brought to the point of worship of the Supreme Lord or not. We have the famous book compiled by one of the Alvars, Mukunda Mala Stotra. Who is the one who has written? Kulashekar Alvar. He was a great king. While being an administrator, he ensured that all his citizens in his kingdom are developed an attachment to the Supreme Lord and worship him. And for that reason, in fact, he used to take all his citizens as a pilgrimage to see the Lord. He used to conduct, he used to take. So as a king, this is the duty, that while doing their duties, how they can be encouraged, how they can be participating in the worship of the Supreme Lord by the fruits of their work. This is the organizational responsibility of a king, to ensure that the end result of worship of the Supreme Lord by people of different divisions in the society is achieved through culture, education, and devotion. And similarly, even in our organization also, everyone having different responsibilities. Somebody is doing each one is allocated different services. But end result of that is that how to ensure that how everyone is connected, how developed one's relationship with Krishna and start worshipping him with the devotion, or to revive our Krishna consciousness. This is ensured. Srila Prabhupada has ensured, and same legacy is continued by our senior Vaishnavas. So if you correlate the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Shastra, which is actually meant for the administrators, now in the Kali Yuga, since the administrators are not there, or proper administrators who can play this role are not there, and ISKCON is taking this responsibility in its own scope and praying to the Lord that, and still trying to meet the administrators and make them Krishna conscious, and so that this implementation will go in a wider way and respect. This is the hope that we have. So this is the real protecting our movement, and this is the duty of a Kshatriya, to protect the citizens both materially and spiritually. To protect them spiritually means to protect them from getting into the material bondage of lust by developing a Krishna conscious atmosphere in their kingdom, and in that way the entire society can be peace and prosperous. So the Yudhishthira Maharaj is inquiring from Arjuna. He knows that Arjuna, being a Kshatriya, whether is there any way he neglected when people came for protection, whether Arjuna could not give protection because of whatever may be the reason, because of which he became very morose. That is the reason, is what is the inquiry from Arjuna, inquiry from Yudhishthira Maharaj to Arjuna. So with this I will stop it here. Anyone has any questions on this? Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada.